Good afternoon. Want to welcome everybody to join us for the afternoon session of the July 25th, 2017 meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors. We have a couple of items for the afternoon agenda, and then we will return to closed session at the conclusion of the main session here, and to finish off those items later today. So with that, Flo, if you'd call the roll to establish quorum, please.
Hey, Supervisor Cerna?
Here.
Kennedy? Peters?
Here.
Frost? Here. Natoli?
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Great. And welcome, Ms. Cerna. Glad you made it back from your whirlwind trip. At least you're on this side of the bridge.
So. Right.
Yes. Okay. With that, then, we didn't have any remaining items from the morning agenda, and we'll go ahead and start with our afternoon items. Item 47.
Okay, for item 47, approval of the substantial amendment to the 2017 one-year action plan and previous year's one-year action plans, authorization to enter into cooperation with Home Investment Partnership Program, consortium agreements with jurisdictions located within Sacramento County, acceptance of Bringing Families Home grant funds and execution of agreements and related documents, and amendment of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency budget.
Okay, and there we have it.
Good afternoon. Celia Iniguez with the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. Does this go down a little bit?
Yeah, we can lower that, Sally. Yeah, we'll...
There we go.
It's bottomed out.
It's the cards I've been dealt with. So, Madam Clerk, I do have a PowerPoint. If you could bring it up for me, thank you. So today I'm going to give a brief presentation about our Community Development Block Grant Mid-Year Action Plan Amendment. Just as a reminder to talk about briefly what is our policy document when bringing forward projects and programs as part of our entitlement programs, which include core CDBG, our home funds, our housing opportunities for people with AIDS, as well as the Emergency Solutions Grant. So the consolidated plan, which is adopted every 5 years, and in this case, the consolidated plan period is from 2013 to 2017. This document helps to align all of our resources and helps us to do more impactful projects, to work on catalyst projects, as well as shovel-ready projects. So it wraps it all together, as well as it helps us to, when we implement these projects together, to eliminate or to improve fair housing opportunities, as well as focused within priority areas. So our impact is much more powerful, and all these are in areas, of course, in areas of need. Through this, we do a lot of community outreach, as well as working with you, the electeds, county staff, and other partners, our community partners, specific organizations throughout the county. So today before you are amendments to the 2017 action plan, which includes a new project, some modifications to existing projects, modifications to an agreement regarding the Walnut Grove parcel, which we gave to the County Parks Department a few years ago, as well as some clarifications to our agreements with our agreement cities. Before we do that, just wanted to highlight some of the great things that we've done with Community Development Block Grant in this last time over this consolidated plan period. In District 1, we acquired some additional property as part of the Twin Rivers Choice Neighborhoods program. In District 2, continuing to make things better for livability for the residents with the Neighborhood Livability Program. In this picture, we added improvements for the pedestrian area and a turnaround that leads up to the pedestrian bridge across 99. In District 3, we provided community development block grant funds to do a rehabilitation of a 47-unit multifamily project called Sutter Place Apartments. In District 4, we made recently some completed improvements to the existing Rio Linda Community Center, including the kitchen, the bathroom, and the lobby area, making that more viable and more opportunities for use. And most recently, a few of us went to the in District 5, the opening of the water well for Gene Harvey. So one is just improving the safety so that there's drinkable water. And then what that also does is provide more opportunities, more of a reason for folks to come in and take and utilize the vast resources that are at that community center. So that was a wonderful project.
Thank you.
This outlines to date the expenditures paired with the low and moderate population in that area. So we try, over the life of the consolidated plan, we try to match the percentage of low mod with the expenditure or the CIP investment listed there. We are pretty much on mark. There's some few where we need to change up or down, but we will work on that through the remainder. I would like to point out that, as earlier I said, that the consolidated plan initially was between 2013 and 2017. As part of our regional effort to complete the assessment of fair housing, we've extended that to 2019. So we'll still be accumulating the totals through 2019. All right. So I mentioned we have a new project in, the first one is on 47th Street to improve the pedestrian and bicycle environment. Our CDBG match, as we always like to do, is leveraging millions from other sources to complete this project. So this is what we'd like to see, is the leveraging. We also are revising several other projects, including the Florin area streetlight project, just expanding the footprint of where the streetlights can go. The Neighborhood Livability Initiative, you saw that earlier picture. This is phase 2, and again, not significant changes, just adding some additional work that needs to be done per discussion with our with county staff. In District 4, just again changing the footprint of where the ADA ramps will be going. And then in the Rosemont area, again an existing project, we're expanding this area to design new streetlights, so opportunity of efficiencies. The last two pieces are the Walnut Grove parcel. Several years ago, we gave this parcel to the county parks, and knowing that we would have to come back, they would come back with specific uses. And so we have some preliminary uses to support cultural uses, as well as uses for the adjacent school. And so this amendment to our agreement between SHRA and the Parks Department allows for them to go through the process and with the school and to define what those cultural resource opportunities are and be able to implement that. And then finally, our agreement cities. We come before you on often on a regular basis. You've seen modifications to the agreement cities agreements in 2011 as well as in 2013. So this is a regular thing that we come before you. These agreements are a 3-year term, and before you is nothing significant. It's really just clarifying that these are with non-entitlement jurisdictions, the cooperation agreement for CDBG, home, and ESG. Now these non-entitlement jurisdictions, of course, are within the county of Sacramento. As well as we are allowing for the renewing, again, these are 3-year agreements on a regular basis. The important to note is the reason that we're coming before you, and some of these clarifications, is that a new entitlement, new jurisdiction, Rancho Cordova, is being added as a consortium agreement. What that means is that their population of low and moderate income residents are identified. That money would flow through us and then through Rancho Cordova. There is no net change to the county's entitlement amount. All right. And the final slide here is just the projects that we talked about on a map. So I'm here for any questions you may have. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Sally, for the presentation. Comments from Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. The staff report says that this is a reappropriation. And it's not clear to me why there is a reappropriation. And there's no comparison to the previous appropriation, so it's hard to tell what you changed.
Is that, I'm sorry, is it in the?
That's in the overview, and also later it says action plans. So, request authorization to submit the amended plan to Department of HUD. This report also proposes to amend prior year's action plans by reappropriating CDBG funding for new and existing activities.
So I think that technically we're just reaffirming that these are the monies and then reallocating monies that had been appropriate with previous year's action plans, and in this case we're allocating them to existing projects or a new project in
for example, Sally, is in District 5 where we had looked at doing a Hood ADA restroom upgrade in the Hood Park. For combination reasons, that wasn't moving forward, and so you're recommitting the money to the Rosemont Streetlight project, which again we've looked at that neighborhood in greater depth. That's just one example. There may be others as well, but where it's no new money to a particular area, but it's shifting either to projects that have been put on hold, completed, and or may not be pursued, to other ones that are being either enhanced or added. Is that
correct? Correct. I'm just going to check in with Jeff.
Yeah, I just find it confusing because it states that in the opening paragraph, and then it says new projects, and then you list them all as new. So I just find it very confusing.
Okay, we can work on making sure that it's clearer in the future if we have to do this.
So and also there's no comparison to what it was before. So you're stating here that these are all projects that we approved before, and we didn't fund them at the time or something like that, and so now it's called reappropriating?
So I think if you go project by project, so 47th is a new project, so we have to approve that as a new project, and in that description, on page 4, for example, on 47th, it identified what the funds were that were allocated, appropriated in the past, and that now they're moving to 47th. So in case by case, it's identified, and I'll let Jeff weigh in on this.
Hello, Jeffrey Ross, Assistant Director for SHRA. And Attachment 1 and Attachment 2. In Attachment 1, we defund, as Supervisor Natolia was saying, projects that either have been completed or are not going to go forward. And then we reallocate those funds identified in the defunding in Attachment 2 for the new project descriptions. And specifically for 47th Avenue and the Phase 2 of 44th, those are completely new projects that have not been seen by the board previously. The Rosemont area streetlights, we have funded a specific stretch of the community for lighting, but the opportunity to increase efficiencies and to expand the lighting came up through conversations with county staff, and so we're looking to try and support that expansion and to be able to capture those efficiencies, and so that's the request for the $175,000. So going forward, we certainly can make sure that we put those in there. It's fine, all well and good to have them in the attachments, but I don't think it's appropriate not to include that in the main document, which is a staff report. And I don't know where on Watt Avenue was that $336,000. Just says Watt Avenue. It's a long street, runs through 4 districts. There we go.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Schuman with Department of Transportation. The segment of Watt Avenue that those funds are coming from is the North Watt segment between Interstate 80 and Roseville Road, where we're developing a complete street, sidewalk, bike lane, streetscape project. And the funds for that, the work that we're doing now, which is really the project design and delivery, we're actually using Measure A allocations because we received Measure A allocation for that specific segment of Watt Avenue. So we really don't need the CDBG money for that particular improvement. So that's why we're...
Since when did DOT not need money that came from some other funding?
Well, it's the funding from Measure A is specifically for that segment of Watt Avenue.
That's helpful to know.
So we have it to spend anyway, as it is, and we're spending that to deliver the design and right-of-way acquisition on the project, and we don't really need the additional funds that were from CDBG for that. So we're shifting them down to the 47th project so that we can move that project ahead.
Okay, well, whoever wrote the staff report needs to start over and next time make sure it's more explanatory from my viewpoint.
Okay. Other members of the board relative to any projects or staff report information? All right. Seeing none then, don't have anybody signed up to speak. Anybody here wish to address this item 47? Okay. If not, then a motion would be in order. Move approval. Okay. Chair would second it. Moved and seconded to approve the staff recommendation with the various items as noted. If nothing further, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, next item's 2:15, and we're right on time.
Item 48, approval of staffing plan and operating cost statement and Rio Consumnes Correctional Center life cycle cost analysis for the Rio Consumnes Correctional Center, Senate Bill 1022, new construction project.
Okay, Mr. Torgerson. Got a PowerPoint today.
Oh, it won't be up there.
Oh, won't we? Oh, no.
Okay. All right. I'm Dave Torgerson, Chief of Correctional Services for the Sheriff's Department. Today I'm here with Deputy Director Jeff Gassaway from Department of General Services. We come before you today to provide an update on the SB 1022 construction project and seek your approval on the following documents. Number one is in attachment 1, the staffing plan and operating cost statement. And number 2 is attachment 2, the life cycle cost analysis. Okay, a little background on SB 1022. Back in 2012, the Adult Local Criminal Justice Facilities Construction Program became law in Senate Bill 1022. The funding consideration from the state would be given to counties that sought to replace existing compacted, outdated, or unsafe housing capacity, or that were seeking to renovate existing or build new facilities that provide adequate space for the provision of treatment and rehabilitation services, including mental health treatment. Up to $500 million was authorized for the acquisition, design, and construction of adult criminal justice facilities. In June of 2013, a jail needs assessment was prepared by the Criminal Justice Research Foundation, Nocton Lewis Architects, and the Veneer Incorporated. 9 recommendations emerged from this assessment, and which were based on identified facility gaps. Initially 5, and then a 6th once the funding was brought to full funding from the $56 million initially to the full $80 million were adopted into the SB 1022 project. The next slide shows the 6 recommendations that were adopted and were part of the SB 1022 project. Number 1, the medical and mental health services. At our CCC, we currently have an old medical housing unit that is severely outdated and inadequate for providing services to our inmate population. 17 of the 25 beds are in a minimum security open environment, leaving only 8 of the 25 beds in a secure environment. This is problematic because that layout worked back when we had very minimum security inmates, to include drunk drivers, petty thieves, that type of thing, you know, over the last few decades. But today, after AB 109 and a lot of the laws that changed, we no longer house those individuals. So therefore, our minimum security prisoners are more along the lines of medium or maximum security when it comes to classification needs, separations, that type of thing. So it can become very problematic to deliver services to certain inmates based on the need to separate them. What this project will do from a medical and mental health services standpoint, it will allow us to provide better and more services to the inmates at our CCC. We currently have a 10-bed acute unit at the main jail where we provide all of our dialysis treatments to our prisoner population. Even if a prisoner is a sentenced prisoner that would normally be housed at our CCC, they are kept at the main jail to receive their dialysis treatments. By expanding this, we will expand the clinics and dialysis treatments to our CCC facility and the inmates there. And with the enhanced security that this new facility will give us, it will allow us to expand and provide more services to the inmate population. As far as the booking and reception unit, when you look at a booking facility, downtown Main Jail is our primary booking facility for the county. We do have what we call booking at our CCC, but essentially what that means is we get more transfers and releases through that unit. We don't get many fresh bookings off the street, with the exception of maybe Galt PD, South CHP, and South Sheriff's Department units. Everybody else goes to the main jail. By enhancing the intake transfer release unit, it will allow us to expand the ability to receive prisoners both off the street and those that are transferred from the main jail daily, and process releases out. We currently only have 3 holding facilities in the male booking area. That, again, it provides a bunch of problems for us when we need to separate certain groups or individuals that are being processed in or processed out. The inmate program space, a big part of this law and this funding had to do with increasing program space, either by building new or building new to free up some space to be able to repurpose as program space, throughout the facility. What we are finding is, following AB 109, is that there is more and more of a need to provide educational, vocational programs to our inmates. And many of the inmates that we are receiving, upwards of 300 to 350 on average, are long-term offenders. They're no longer do 12 months at the maximum in jail and get out, or go to state prison. We have many offenders that are spending several years in custody in our facilities. Regarding the food service kitchen expansion, we are currently operating a kitchen that is 20 years old. It was built as a temporary kitchen. It is literally falling apart. We are constantly having issues with ceiling tiles falling, the refrigeration units, pipes, mold, mildew, that type of thing. We've outgrown that facility. We do need a new facility. The one thing that we are looking at with the new food production facility is going to a cook-chill model, and what that would mean was the new production facility would be a day shift only operation, but the inmates with supervision from our cook staff would prepare and cold and freeze the food for both the branch jail, our CCC, and main jail, and that we would have up to a week of food on hand at any given time. The reason there is going to be a little bit of additional staff needed is that the other smaller kitchens throughout the facility still need to be staffed by our cook staff to oversee the preparation, plating of food, delivery of food to the inmates, and then clean up afterwards for each meal. Recommendation 5 has to do with the laundry. The laundry is an older, outdated facility. We do experience fires there quite often. One of the good things about our new facility that's planned is we would have newer, more efficient washers and dryers, and we would use recycled water out of the kitchen as well. And the last one, the central control station. This was identified as a need for overall facility security, to be able to have a central control location where we have staff monitoring cameras and security for the whole facility. This would also allow us to expand into the future with new buildings and that type of thing. what we would do is we would take the deputies that are now working the tower that do that physically by looking down across the complex, redeploy them to other job duties, and put civilian staff in central control to monitor the cameras and provide that element of security at a reduced cost, similar to the main jail. There were 3 other recommendations that didn't get adopted as a part of this proposal. Next slide is a jail needs assessment update. This project would correct major identified infrastructure deficiencies. The project would address emerging programming needs for long-term sentenced AB 109 inmates, and it would expand the life expectancy of RCCC for another 30 to 50 years. The SB 1022 project was a competitive site-specific construction financing program. The county was awarded $80 million to replace compacted and outdated facilities, specifically at RCCC, and the county was required to provide the $8.8 million matching funds. To date, the $7.5 million has already been spent using fixed asset acquisition funds, and that funding would need to be covered, or those costs would need to be covered regardless if this project went through or not. That's the cost that we would bear, and that's basically goes back to even work that we did through real estate, architecture planning, and all the planning that ASD and General Services has done to date. Several months ago, we were here with an update, and there was some significant concern about the ongoing personnel and operational costs. I can tell you that we went back and endeavored to reduce the ongoing operating costs by reevaluating our staffing requirements, and by doing so, we moved things around to where we could reduce the need for 6 new deputy sheriff positions at a reduction of approximately $1.3 million annually. So that reduced our need for deputy sheriffs from a number of 16 down to 10. Just to give you an idea of how this slide shakes out, in the new psych or medical facility, there would need to be 8 new deputy sheriffs. Well, we don't currently have a psych facility, so that would provide 1 deputy sheriff on each shift. We have 4 shifts, so around the clock coverage to supervise that unit and assist the psych staff with the inmates. The 2 deputies that would work kitchen security around the kitchen, that would be a day shift only operation, so that would just be 8-hour day shift on either side of the week, and then that whole section of the facility would close down at night and on the weekends, where the new food facility would be, as well as the warehouse area. The 4 sheriff's records officers would be deployed to the new control room, and that's where we figured we could use civilian staff to reduce cost and redeploy deputies elsewhere. The 2 security officers would be for the new service entrance gatehouse to provide security on the day shifts when delivery trucks, et cetera, were coming in and going out. And then when you look at the food production, we would need 6 cooks to deal with the food production end of the new facility that would provide food for both the RCCC and the main jail. And then as far as on the medical side, 1 psychiatrist and 6 LVNs, licensed vocational nurses, would be specific to the new psychiatric unit, and the 5 registered nurses would be for intake screening. And at times people ask, well, why do we need additional staff, that type of thing. Where our current booking is, it's further back in the facility, and at times when a staff member may have been needed for something, we would just redeploy somebody that was already working somewhere else for a quick booking, or a nurse would be moved up for somebody that needed to see the nurse in booking. By building this facility out front, there's going to be quite a bit of security between the units that these nurses and deputies are working, and their cover officers, so to speak, in other facilities. So just by distance and several locked doors, that's going to severely diminish the response capabilities of other staff members to respond in case of an emergency. So while it does require some more staff, a lot of these services that we will be providing will be improving efficiencies and providing a safer environment as well.
Dave, before you leave that slide, if I could, on the 6 cook positions. So if I understood you correctly, both at RCCC and at main jail, you're not consolidating or eliminating cook positions. You're going to keep people in place, and this is going to be a more centralized approach to what you described as far as the prepare and freeze and then warm them at different times. So why is it that you'll need cooks at those locations versus, I understand, just distributing the meals and you're no longer doing the food prep right there. It's coming off of a pre-prepared tray. So again, I guess I'm losing why you would need to have, why you wouldn't be able to consolidate some of those cook positions and displace them either with folks that could serve or, I mean, you use the inmate help right now, in most of those cases, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir, that's a good question. The existing kitchen is on the honor side of the facility, and what that means is that's our lowest security inmates that provide a lot of our labor and manpower for working in the kitchen, the laundry, landscaping, that type of thing. So attached to that kitchen is a large eating area, so all the inmates that are in those there's 4 dormitories that could be upwards of 400 inmates have to go at different times to eat at that facility. That kitchen would be repurposed as a retherm kitchen. We also have kitchens in the security area, in the maximum security area for the males, and in the female housing unit facility. Those would be repurposed as retherm facilities. So basically the food would be delivered cold to each of those facilities. It would be then warm, rethermed, plated, put on carts, delivered to the inmates. The dirty trays would come back, they would be cleaned, and that process takes a few hours each time it happens, and it happens meal after meal throughout the day. So the cooks do need to remain in place in those locations to provide the oversight of those inmates. In the new production facility, that would be specific to the food production and bagging or potting, different meals to hold up to 4 or 5 days at a time before we actually use it. So
there's no efficiency recognized that relates to the plating and again cleanup and eating areas, because we're adding new staff and there's no net, I mean, this is a net 6 in addition to what's already there. So basically, there's you don't pick up anything. Was there any other approach that was considered that might have required additional capital improvement, but it could have achieved the same purpose and actually gotten the efficiencies related to some consolidation of staffing versus what you've described?
Yeah, my understanding was when the project was first looked into was the fact that we're having a real problem providing meals that are hot when they're plated out in the main kitchen and then getting them out to the inmate population, and that's regularly a problem for us. So this was going to be something that helped that issue specifically by actually warming, having the retherm facilities closer to the inmates to where we could warm it up to temperature and deliver it to the inmate population sooner. I don't know all of what was considered back then as far as the different options of kitchens. The additional cooks would, I realize that is an ongoing cost, but it does address some significant issues for us.
What about in the main jail facility?
That would be turned to a retherm. That would be turned into a retherm facility as well.
Similarly, there you've got to have all the same folks in place that are there now. There's no.
Right. The cooks that supervise the inmates in preparing the foods would basically be doing the same for the retherming. They just wouldn't be doing the food production at the main jail. They would be strictly a retherm facility, and we would have to do some modifications for cold storage to allow them to keep up to, 3, 4, 5 days of food on hand at a time.
So the main jail is going to have additional freezer capacity constructed as a part of this project in order to make this function the way you've described?
Yes.
Is that contemplated in this budget, or is that in some other budget?
Do you have that, Jeff?
Jeff Gasway, General Services. That's actually going to be a future project that we're looking at. I've got a couple projects on hold right now for the main jail to rehab the current refrigeration system and walk-in boxes now, and I put that on hold, waiting. We've got a study going on right now to see what capacities we need before we move forward with that project. So it was going to happen because of the age of the equipment anyway. So.
Any idea, Jeff, ballpark, what that, even under the replacement scenario, but with new capacity, what are we looking at?
Well, our guesstimate, without doing any design, we had about $500,000 set aside to replace the existing systems. So, and we put that on hold. Right.
Do you think that would cover pretty much what you're looking at? Because you're going to need additional, it sounds like additional freezer space for,
It should cover the majority of what we're looking at. It's basically a freezer's 4 walls. You may have to move one wall out a little further to give you more capacity, but it should cover the majority of it.
Okay, because a week's worth of food for all the inmates that are housed downtown, but 2,200 still downtown?
We're averaging right around 2,000 right now.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next slide is attachment 4 in your package, and this goes over the first year estimated cost for personnel, energy, and maintenance. Direct your attention to the bottom third there under anticipated savings. One thing that we're currently doing right now is we have general warehouse storage contracts that are necessary for main jail and RCCC currently in the neighborhood of $97,000. And we have cold food storage for both facilities at an average annual cost of $250,000. So if we build this capacity at RCCC for the cold storage and other warehouse storage, we can save approximately $347,000 annually on those contracts by not having to contract that out. So the net with all totaled there with Sheriff's Department, Correctional Health, Department of General Services, and then some of the energy information in there is approximately $7.5 million annually. That would be, if the timeline goes as it is set right now, it would be April 2020-ish when the project was completed. So first year annual costs you'd be looking at probably in the 2021 fiscal year for these costs.
Okay, Supervisor Cerna has a question.
Thank you. So I appreciate the fact that you have a segment of the chart here that's dedicated to anticipated savings, but have you also looked at any salvage value of any of the equipment, the old equipment that would be coming out?
I have not personally, and I don't know if that Jeff might be able to better answer that.
I don't believe we have, Supervisor Cerna.
Can you do that?
Yes, we will.
Okay, I think it's wise to take inventory of what you're going to be taking out as much as what you're going to be putting in, and who knows, there might be a market, secondary market for some of this stuff.
We'll look at that, but some of it is old enough where it just may be, scrap value at that point, but we'll look at that.
I think it'd also be useful to understand, regardless of its age, if it's functioning, there maybe it's not going to constitute a value that the department or the county can benefit from, but who knows, there might be some local nonprofits that might be able to benefit from some of this equipment. I know I can tell you one particular project just in my district where we're looking under every seat cushion for a way to pay for a community demonstration kitchen. So these are, just some of the things to think about, and I don't think that that's necessarily that unique. I think in all our districts, it's probably fair to say there's a number of nonprofits that, who knows, might be able to take some of the equipment that will be taken out and make use of it.
We'll look at that.
Great, thanks.
Okay, Jeff, while you're there, just if I could, on this chart that Dave just put up, it shows under your maintenance supplies item, and you have a triple asterisk there. Help me understand it. The notation says Department of General Services anticipates requiring additional maintenance supplies in the second year at the cost of $90,000 annually, and then in parentheses, $180,000 annually for maintenance supplies starting in year 2. So the $90,000 reflects the first year, and then every year thereafter is going to be $180,000. Is that
correct?
Right?
That's correct.
And why is that?
Well, you've got. We were looking at giving you the first year cost. So basically I did the math on the square footage we have at our CCC now on our services and supplies, came out with the price per square foot, and based on the new facilities, that's what the estimate is for service and supplies for the new facility, which would, be belts, filters, having a contractor come in and certify the fire alarm systems, hood systems, and things like that.
So the line item that's shown in that first year estimated cost, the $90,000 reflects what, a half year?
Correct, or a half a year. What we did was we're phasing things in over a 2 fiscal year period, because the first fiscal year that we're up and running the facility is going to be fairly new. So we're not bringing all of our staff on, and we won't need the full budget for our service and supplies.
Okay. And I think I asked this question at one previous hearing. So with regards to your energy, though, obviously you have new facilities. They're going to be more energy efficient. You're probably, as you just said, you're adding a lot more equipment, maybe bigger equipment and so forth. So what are the costs now for energy, gas, electrical, sewer, plus you got, older stuff that needs to be, patched together. But so I'm trying, what is the number now for that? Some of that's new square footage, or a lot of it's replacement square footage. What's the?
Currently right now, the annual cost for energy at our CCC is about $1.1 million.
Okay.
Now, some of those facilities won't be used. They'll be mothballed, so we'll have some electrical savings on those once the new facility opens up. And this is just an estimate, our best estimate on what the facility would be up and running full. It could come in lower, depending on some of the newer efficiencies of the equipment and things like that.
Okay, but then if I take away from that, then I appreciate you sharing that information, that basically this is going to double the cost of maintaining and supplying all the various utilities, energy, gas, sewer, and water, because if it's $1.1 million right now, give or take, recognizing there, and this is showing $1.9 million, and then I take the service and supplies from second year out, that's $180,000. I'm close to $1 million more annually. And what's the amount of square footage we're adding?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up real quick.
Okay, that's all right. But I mean, it's a little bit counterintuitive, and I understand why. I guess I do. But you add, new space. It has to be maintained. Supposedly you're going to get energy savings and so forth. You add equipment that may have a bigger draw in its totality, and yet separate and apart from any staffing behind that. I get that, but we're going to be basically adding $1 million, give or take, annually just to maintenance and the utility draw for those facilities. And again, they're not hidden costs. They're obviously right here on the page, but I just think that it's important to recognize that you would, again, intuitively you'd think, okay, well, if I'm going to replace something, it's going to be newer, and with newer technology and more energy efficiency for lighting, for motors and all the things that go into it, and water saving devices and all that, right. And yet we're nearly doubling that. So, okay.
And I understand. Like I said, that's why we're phasing it in over a 2-year period, and we may get into it the first year of operation, and we may not need to bring on another position in that second year. So we'll look at that again.
I wasn't even taking your positions. That wasn't. No. Your positions are up above.
It goes in with the electrical charges and everything else as well. So.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Any other questions on this slide?
Other questions on this slide? No. Keep going,
Okay.
Dave.
This next slide is the most compelling for me, and as we look at our average daily population of inmates system-wide, this is including both main jail and RCCC, we're averaging right now about 3,500 inmates in custody. And if you notice, represented in the blue there is almost 1,500 of those inmates are on some type of mental health caseload. We do have an 18-bed acute psychiatric unit at the main jail, and with your support, and we certainly appreciate that, we opened up our intensive outpatient psych unit here a few months ago that is doing great things. Our staff is doing great things together with those inmates. That's essentially 28 beds to be able to handle a population of almost 1,500. Now, I'm not here to suggest that everybody's in crisis. These are inmates that are talking to a psychiatric social worker from time to time, or on some type of psychotropic drugs while they are in custody. So I really, basically my priority, I think, on anything is to really drive home the point that we do need mental health services available at RCCC. As was previously mentioned, about 1,700 population out there at RCCC right now, and there really is no, that gets to the next slide. RCCC currently lacks all type of mental health beds and options, and that came out of the needs assessment report. There are no distinct separate housing units or pods to house male or female inmates with significant emotional or psychological problems. And this project adds a needed 26-bed medical mental health facility. While we have 25 beds on the male side right now in the old MHU, like I said, it's problematic with the different classifications. If we had 20 inmates that were high security, we could not provide services to them on the medical or mental health side in the current MHU. So this new layout, it'll provide us some flexibility as the populations ebb and flow with medical or mental health needs, and help us system-wide to better handle our inmates with medical and mental health problems in custody. And the upside to it as well is, due to the being new construction, the facilities will be built to current ADA compliant specifications, which brings me to the next slide. As far as American with Disabilities Act facility improvements, experts have identified approximately $18.2 million in renovations to the old, outdated, inadequate facilities at RCCC will be needed to meet ADA compliance. This project is estimated to address at least $3 million of those costs, being that the facilities that we would be closing down, we wouldn't need to do improvements on, and the new facilities would be built to code. So we estimate that within this project that we can mitigate approximately $3 million of the $18 million at RCCC. Main jail's $19.5 million, just as a footnote. Consequences, impacts if we abandon this project. The big one is we will lose $80 million in state BSCC funding. My concern is that we may not be positioned well for future funding if another opportunity comes up down the road. I know that AB 109 caused a lot of problems for counties throughout the state, and it's going to continue to be a battle, but my concern is if we don't follow through with this, we may not be positioned well in the future should we want funding from the BSCC. We as a county, Sheriff's Department included, we're going to have to be required to complete several of the facility improvements outlined in the SB 1022 project using county general funds. The next slide is just kind of an estimate of some of those improvements that, if we need to do them, about what they're going to cost. So the medical mental health facility, that's just the cost of the facility in this project, and that does include the intake area, so that's just an estimate there. Water well, if we do any kind of an expansion, we're going to need a new water well, and we can do that within this project at cost of approximately $4.5 million. Just to band-aid things together, we'd have to do at least $2 million in renovations in our current kitchen, up to an estimated $12 million from discussions in a meeting the other day, if we are not going to do the new project. The secured employee parking lot, that was recently added to provide expanded scope for necessary facility improvements. So that's not in your attachment 3, but the security parking lot at $1.5 million and inmate program space at $1.3. And then lastly, estimate on infrastructure improvements of about $2 million. So therefore, if we don't follow through with this project, we could be in the area of around $35 million in expenditures in the future for needs at our CCC specifically. That's good. And that old outdated facilities will continue to have ongoing maintenance costs that are unknown at this time. As we've met with General Services and ASD, it's hard to predict what's going to go wrong when, but we are in a facility that has buildings that are World War II era buildings into the 60s, so we will likely continue to have issues. Okay, the next slide is moving forward. While the SB 1022 construction project does not solve all of the challenges and issues we face in correctional services, it definitely helps us get going in the right direction with significant funding from the state of California. I'm here today to request you to approve the project staffing plan and operating cost statement, as well as the Rio Cosumnes Correctional Center life cost cycle cost analysis. The next item then would be presented to the board in September or in December 5th tentatively to approve construction documents. And lastly, we are working collaboratively within the county to re-examine our current correctional facilities to determine current and future needs via a system-wide master plan. Typically, master planning's been done at the branch jail because that's where the real estate is, but we have seen that there is more of a need now more than ever to look system-wide and look at both facilities and determine where we need to go into the future. In closing, SB 1022 is a first step in addressing compelling needs at our CCC. Thank you for your time and support, and we can take any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Dave, you may have said, and I didn't catch it, when do these positions, what year do they begin for budgeting purposes?
As the project timeline on the milestone in attachment 5 shows, about April 2020 would be a completion of the project. So likely the tail end of 2020 or into 2021 would be where you would notice the ongoing personnel and energy costs moving forward. That's provided we stayed on schedule throughout the whole schedule, which remains to be seen.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other members of the board, questions of Sheriff's Department or General Services? Just one question maybe to follow on with Supervisor Peters had asked. Is there the ability to, recognizing that staffing in over a 10-year period, we will have paid for all the capital facilities one time over with staffing as it's currently outlined. Is there the ability, recognizing some of these, and again, I don't know if the phasing would bring on, say, the kitchen facility first or the medical facility first, or if it's all going to be, built and then occupied as a part of one whole project, because obviously there's, significant interface for some of these things. But I guess part of my question is, and if I recall correctly, some years ago, some of the counties who previously had taken money under either bond acts or gone forward and didn't have the ability to provide staffing, maybe not under this program, their facilities that vacant. There's a cost to that, obviously, as well, and there's a need in this case for a number of these things. Some are more of a priority, I guess, than others, but they all fit in a package. The question being, is there the ability to sequence this in such a way that, from a construction standpoint, that you, for those things that have most urgent need, i.e., kitchen and medical facilities, that those could be brought on in a different fiscal year than some of the other activities here? And if not, do you have the ability to? You still get added costs maybe for construction, bidding climates, and all those things. But do we have the ability? Because I know once we get in and it's done, then we have, I think it's 90 days to occupy and up and running. But is there some ability to phase that so that in any given budget year, we're not going to take on some of those ongoing costs, and there may be some ability to spread some of those out? Because you look at 2021, 2022, and we certainly, we don't know exactly what anybody's crystal ball looks like, but when I see some of the other things that we're going to be talking about in final budget this year, like in-home supportive services and what we're going to take on about 3 years out with millions of dollars cost there, other things that are on the docket, the ability to spread this out might be helpful. So I guess that's the question: is there the ability to do that without incurring significant costs because we do that? So.
My understanding is by seeking the board's approval today on the staffing plan means that we're telling BSCC that we will staff the facility when it is built. I don't know what the possibilities of phasing in are. If things were done kind of piecemeal, my understanding is that for every year we wait on a project, we're losing about $3 million in inflation and construction costs that continue to go up. Therefore, if we tried to keep delaying the project, then it would just eat up the project at the end, to where we would have more of a $60 million project instead of $80 million by waiting. So, but my understanding is that staffing plan means that we are making the commitment that we will staff it if they build it. Jeff, do you know anything differently as far as from the facility?
Yeah. Also, in this, we have a certain time to get it constructed and opened, and I'm not sure what that date is for sure, so I'll have to go back and check.
There's another driver date then, Jeff, beyond.
Correct.
I mean, not that you drag this out for multiple years, but again, I'm thinking that, if you phase it in, so you brought on, say, medical and your food service in year one of completion, and then other things followed on, security gate or parking lot. Again, I know that some of these things are integrated, but as you did that so in such a way that you didn't incur, you might be able to spread some of those personnel costs out over another year or so. And that, again, this is all general fund money when it comes on the personnel side of it. Right. Either that or it's to the fixed out through our 2%, but it's still paid for by a lot of the county general fund departments as well. So
you can go back and look at a phasing plan to see what that looks like, so we don't get into our deadline. But Chief was correct in that every year we wait, or every month, where construction costs are escalating, and we'll lose the value of the dollar today if we wait. So
is there not a way, though, to call for delivery of certain facilities within that, and then you have a construction schedule so it gets built into your initial bid, so you're not piecemealing? I'm not looking to do that. Right. Again, and if it doesn't make sense, then you're going to tell us so. But I feel compelled to ask the question just because of, I think, what we're staring down here as it relates to the ongoing costs that are going to be incurred, recognizing to the point you made, Dave, here, just when your presentation, and what we added in the main jail, other things that are still coming down the pike that we're having to look at. This is only one of any number of, and nothing comes with it without 6 zeros attached to it, and so, or maybe even 7 zeros attached to it, and so it's like, wow. And you start doing that additive, and then with the staffing that comes behind that, the ongoing commitments for doing that, they're big, and what it doesn't buy, and this is not your problem, but it's all of our problem, is it doesn't buy any more enforcement out in the, out in the community. It doesn't buy any more services for folks who might be deflected or deterred from getting into the system if there were services for families and for children and for some of the folks, drug services and so forth. And so none of that those dollars aren't available. They go for those that get incarcerated, and obviously they're the ones who have gone through due process. So I just make that point because if there's a way to spread this out a bit on the ongoing cost side, I certainly would want to at least have that information, tell us why or why not. So
we'll look at that between now and when we come back in December.
Okay, that'd be good. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Dave. That's all the questions I had. Supervisor Cerna.
Follow-up question, since it's been mentioned more than once now, this 3% per year construction cost inflation factor that's been alluded to, the more you wait, that's what you pay more each year. What's that based on? Is that based on ENR Bay Area costs?
My construction guy is on vacation, so I can't.
So when you come back,
it's based on a standard.
Okay. When you come back, I'd like to understand what the elusive 3% is referencing.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, folks that are here in the audience? All right. If not, thanks, Dave. Appreciate the presentation. Certainly all the preparation went into putting this together, and I know you had a team.
And again, thank you for your support on our IOP program. That's running well, and the inmates are definitely benefiting from that program. Thank you.
And this may be the last time we see you before the board on a presentation. I won't say why, but thanks, Dave. Okay. All right. Very good. With that, then we have it for the board for any further conversation. If not, then we have a staff recommendation reports. Mr. Gill, anything you want to add?
No, sir.
All right. So, okay, we have a motion. We have a second to adopt a resolution approving both the staffing plan, operating cost statement, and life cycle cost analysis for this new construction project. Proceed forward. We'll see this back on December 5th this year is the anticipated date. If nothing further, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, there we have it. Thank you all. All right, that brings us to the close of the formal agenda. Now we have comments from county executive, members of the board, and anyone else that would like to weigh in. Mr. Gill.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I do have a status report to give to you. On July 18th, Supervisor Natoli, myself, and Mr. Lake were invited to a meeting with the mayor of City of Sacramento and his staff. And in that meeting, there's 3 specific things that the mayor asked us to look at. As you all are aware, that they successfully competed and received a whole person care program to help with homeless, with navigation system and case management. The request is as follows, is for us to look at expanding and prioritizing the county's behavioral health services so that the whole person care program and the clients that they meet on the street get the first priority. Request number 2 then is for us to look at our budget and our mental health plan and to accommodate the service changes to amend our budget and the mental health plan accordingly. Request number 3 is for the county and the city to jointly hire someone to oversee and coordinate the county's and the city's homeless initiatives. Those were the asks that the mayor of Sacramento asked us to look at. We're looking at it. Also, in addition, city staff has asked a bunch of technical questions in assistance in implementing the whole person care. For example, they would like to be included in existing county communities and work groups and data sharing on clinical casework. They would like to have some more information from us on health and mental health related client information, and also to analyze data to demonstrate that the whole person care program is successful in reducing hospital and healthcare provider. That's the essence, is the whole person care is to reduce the hospital and healthcare provider cost. We are going to continue to meet with the city to get a little bit more information on the technical assistance that they've asked us for. But the first 3 that Supervisor Natoli, Mr. Lake, and I were in the meeting, I will be coming back to you in an agenda item to give you what our response will be to the City of Sacramento for those 3 asks that they've asked for. We're working through that. I do not have a date for you right now, but I would like to get that in front of you as quickly as I can.
Okay, thanks for the summation. Now we have at least one member who wants to weigh in. Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Nav, it's been explained to me a number of times as far as why we didn't participate in the whole person care. Do we have anything in writing that simply states, because it's very complicated and very convoluted, but that simply states, why it is that, because I get asked the question constantly, why is it that Sacramento County is the largest county in the state that didn't apply? When other situated counties did. Can we get something that clearly states why it is that we didn't participate?
Yes, we have a documentation. We'll send it to you.
Okay.
We'll also post that on our website too.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Cerna.
No, I think my question was just answered, but we received vis-a-vis your communications person, Nav, what I thought was a great synopsis of the 5 initiatives that we took action on earlier this spring that we funded during our budget hearings that on homelessness, and they're all kind of brief and easily understandable. Is it possible that, because I know that we have received actually 2 different written explanations of the circumstances around this county's disposition relative to whole person care. But is it possible that we could actually maybe do a blast or somehow do at the end of the week a link to something that summarizes what Supervisor Kennedy has suggested, summarizes our disposition on whole person care? I've actually used the latest information that was prepared in writing that explains whole person care, but Patrick's right, it's lengthy, and I've actually used it on social media when some have decided to challenge me as a agent of the county about whole person care. But I think if it were to be made more succinct, it would help. But I think being actually proactive about it and not just kind of waiting for someone to challenge us the next time, because I think all 5 of us are actually getting bombarded with the question, it would be helpful.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you now for certainly summarizing today, and I think you characterized the outcome of the meeting, very accurately, and I think some timely response and certainly analysis and assessment on our part will be helpful, I think, to the ongoing, not just conversation, but hopefully work that will continue in this community to address a variety of issues. Certainly have relationship to homelessness, but certainly to people in need of services, and many of them not having the wherewithal to obtain those services unless they come through a county funded program and or a county offered program, one or the other. So I do think that the timeliness, recognizing, I think the weight of the ask needs to kind of be an imperative here. So I think highlighted by the comments about just trying to get the message out about kind of why we did what we did some months ago, and the ability to explain that, but also maybe where we're going forward with the conversation. It might be whether you feel free to share it now, but we've also had conversation with other jurisdictions who may have some dollars coming through that will also want to cooperate with the county, maybe in a different fashion. I don't know if you wanted to offer any comments on that. Yeah.
Supervisor Natoli and I were at another meeting with City of Elk Grove. Supervisor Natoli's monthly meeting with the city manager and with the mayor. And in that meeting, Elk Grove expressed that they have received $5 million from the state to do with homeless, and they want to see if there's an opportunity to partner with us. We're absolutely open to that. And they also expressed some desires, same kind of question on the mental health side and alcohol and drug. That's what they're finding on their streets, is that those are folks that need services, and we'll be reaching out to them and working with them on what kind of services we can collaborate on.
Okay, good.
A question?
Oh, yeah, Ms. Peters.
A comment. Back to communicating, well, 2 things. One, if I understood you right, in the mayor's ask, it would mean pulling apart our budget, canceling contracts with nonprofit groups that are doing the work for us. And when you come back, are you going to address all those kinds of we'll just call it cancellation clauses?
Yes, we are.
Okay. The other thing went out of my head.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, we can come back to it. We've got board members.
On
Good.
communications, it's just, I think I heard everyone say that we're really looking for a clear explanation of what all the programs and costs are. I know in my office we just finished writing kind of a synopsis of what we believe all the services are that the county provides for homelessness, but it took quite a bit of effort to go to the different departments and find out what they're doing, how much they're spending, and I don't think it should be that hard for all of us, 5 individually, to have to come up with that. But clearly, the people in the community don't know what we're doing. They're listening to the media, and I really think and urge you to put together a communications plan, a complete communications plan that is made available on social media and anything else you find appropriate, that in simple language explains all the money that's being spent and what it's being spent on, including the discussions of the whole person care, which somehow has become a mantra. When I got an explanation on that a month ago, and it made sense to me, but no one knows it. So it need to be on the website. It needs to be in our newsletter. I think it cannot be done in one issue of the newsletter. You need to write a series of starting at the beginning with the overall explanation, then get into individual programs. I just don't think we're communicating that directly. Maybe you could open a Twitter account. Communicate directly with the people.
You can attach it to the Twitter account. I'm sure you'll get a lot of hits. So.
You're trying to get me in trouble, huh?
Without delving too far into this, I mean, going too deep into this subject, but to carry on to that, I mean, as an example, there's the misconception that because we didn't apply for whole person care, that we're not going to be providing services for the people who are recipients of whole person care,
basic.
Which is ridiculous. Right. Yeah. We're already providing for the 5 or the 4 or 5 steps that we've applied. I mean, so that we just need to get that message across better.
Okay. Understood.
Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Cerna.
And just to beat this horse a little more, I like the idea. I like the idea that Supervisor Peters has suggested. But with that, it should be all inclusive. In other words, it should be an explanation about AOD. It should be an explanation about mental health. I don't know about the rest of you, but I suspect this happens to the rest of you. I get cornered once in a while on Laura's Law, and so a clear, succinct explanation of Care Plus would be helpful. But those are all obviously kind of sister services, if you will, very closely assigned with our continuum of care for homelessness. So I think that should be part and parcel of this.
Okay. Just one other thing. This has nothing to do with the horse, but it has to do with what we came out of the discussion with, and you may have mentioned it. I guess I don't know if you did. Excuse me, but I didn't hear it. But embedded in that conversation too was this idea, as expressed by the mayor, that there be some overarching coordination, maybe with the assist of a third party.
Yeah, I did mention that.
Okay,
that's the third one, that both county and the city jointly hire someone. So we're evaluating that, see what would that look like.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. It was may not have been.
And that's going to be part of our report back to you.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, very good. Anything else, Mr. Gill? Do you want to?
No, that's it, sir.
Okay, all right. Let's start with members of the board. Ms. Frost, anything? These are actually just comments or questions. Then we'll come back to any closing statements. Yeah.
On this one agenda item, I'm sorry.
It's not an agenda item.
Yeah, this here. Closing statement. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I would like to close this afternoon in memory of my mother-in-law who passed away Mariana Frost, who passed away peacefully at home in Citrus Heights, California on July 14th, 2017 at 12:01 a.m. She was 95 years old. Mariana was born in the city of Deming, New Mexico on April 5, 1922. A daughter of Millard and Carolyn Nance, and the second of three daughters, Mildred, Mariana, and Ruth Alice Nance. In our family, Mariana was considered the last of the greatest generation and was preceded in her death by her husband, Jack Lee Frost, who passed away in 1993, and her siblings, Ruth Alice, and all of her siblings who passed away previous to her. Mariana is survived by her two sons and their families, my husband Jack and I, Jack Frost, and Jerry and Jesse Frost, and her grandchildren, Ben and Kathy Frost, Tracy Frost, and Brandon Frost. Mariana and Jack met in their kindergarten, and they reconnected in high school and throughout their school years, and were married at the young age, I believe, of 18 in 1941. She always said that she got married on April 4th. Her birthday was on April 5th. She got married and she aged a year the next day. They celebrated 52 anniversaries prior to Jack's passing. And together they did some amazing things. They owned a restaurant, the Chicken Shop in Sun Valley, California. They built their own blockhouse behind the restaurant. They would awake in the morning at 4 a.m. in preparation for the business day, and they would work until 10 or 11 to close out the day. And after the smog of California caused challenges for her husband, they moved to Cathedral City, where he became a carpenter, and they sold their chicken shop. Where they resided during those years, she was a homemaker, an accomplished seamstress who did alterations at a local dress shop called the Southland Casuals, and shortly thereafter they built another home in Silver Spur in Palm Desert, and she often reminisced about her son Jerry and his affinity for wild animal pets. He had a pet alligator which got loose, and Mom found it under the air conditioner. The favorite family vacation spot was Salton Sea, where the Frosts and Thompsons and Russell clans would all converge for camping and fishing and water skiing and storytelling. And during their time in the desert, Marianne went to work as a legal clerk at Riverside County. She had always said that she loved that job. When she was 55, or when her husband was 55, he retired from pounding nails in 120-degree heat in the desert, and Mom retired early. And they hit the road with a smile and their trailer and toured the countryside. During their travels, they found a beautiful place called Morro Bay, California, where they fell in love with the location, purchased a lot, and built another home, the home they would retire in. Mariana Frost was a dedicated community volunteer. She was frequently featured in local newspapers. In '98, she received recognition for her work with the Morro Bay Harbor Festival. During her retirement years, she clocked in over 50,000 volunteer hours. She never asked for things. She was always thinking of others. She was courageous, and in spite of her dislike for water, she was even willing to take a ride in her son Jerry's yellow submarine, which he built. And she had a strong faith. In her last days, she studied devotionals every day and prayed. And she was a great mom. At the age of 93, Mariana sadly relocated from her home in Morro Bay with her family in Citrus Heights. During her last 2 years, she was always anxious to go. She made sandwiches for the homeless from her wheelchair. She attended community events. She went for walks in the park with her scooter, and when she could no longer walk, she even did the heavy lifting at Lowe's in the driving cart. On Mondays, she played Scrabble at Rush Park. On Tuesdays, she played Hand and Foot with the Senior Widows Club, and she attended church every Sunday right up to the end. Mariana was a wonderful mother, wife, grandma, sister, aunt, great aunt, cousin, and friend. She loved everyone. She always told them so. She will be remembered for her beautiful smile, welcoming heart, and spiritual grounding. She was my mother-in-law, and I loved her deeply. She will live on in our hearts and memories. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Frost, for very heartfelt, certainly comments and memories of someone very close to you and to your, obviously, to your husband. And again, I think this board certainly shares in some of your sorrow. Obviously, we can't know it, although each of us, obviously, with parents, and many of us who've lost parents, recognize your parents and your in-laws are very, very close to everything you do in your life. So again, very well spoken today, and we will adjourn in a moment in honor of Mariana
Mariana
okay.
Frost.
Okay, and we will do that. And very nicely spoken, though, and she would be very proud, I'm sure, of her daughter-in-law and the tribute that you just paid to her. So
Thank you.
okay, Ms. Peters, anything today? Okay, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Sermon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have three brief comments. I want to start by thanking Rami Zachariah with our DTEC. Rami and his staff have been listening very intently to those of us that use the 311 app religiously. And in fact, was good enough to join me on a recent outing to the south part of District 1 to see how some of the latest innovations in the app are actually used in practice. And a lot of that input has actually made its way into the latest version of the application. And as someone that just switched over from the previous platform, I can say that it's much more user-friendly. The geocoding is much more accurate in terms of address identification. So I just wanted to publicly thank Rami and all his team for that. Second thing I want to say is, again, a thank you to Supervisor Peters. Mr. Chair, you and I had a chance to join Susan last Friday for the Fair Oaks Boulevard Improvement Phase 2 completion/ribbon cutting. Great event. It was obvious that the community out there was very excited about the completion of that project and eager to look forward to the next phase. But after the ribbon cutting ceremony, we did have a chance to explore a very new development, and I would certainly invite urban renewal, suburban renewal at Milagro on Fair Oaks Boulevard. What's the cross street?
Marconi.
And I was blown away. It's an incredible reuse of space that's been there for decades. And if you didn't know better, quite frankly, you'd think you're in some hip set of bars and restaurants and meeting places in downtown Sacramento. I think our chair was also duly impressed, as was some of the staff that joined us for that tour. And so I guess my comment or question is, because that seems to be such a interesting progressive space that was really birthed by, obviously the oversight of our supervisor for District 3, working with staff to make sure that we didn't let too much of the regulatory environment get in the way of creative thinking. Is there a way that we can, once that is fully occupied, we understand how it's truly performing, is there a way that we can look at Milagro as kind of a model for other reuse within the county? I don't know if, Susan, you've made mention of that yet to staff, but I was so impressed that I thought we might want to consider that.
We'll be looking at that next year.
Good. And then lastly, wanted to remind everyone that, of course, next Tuesday, August 1st, is National Night Out. I know we have, all of us have busy schedules that night. Some of us visiting various National Night Out spots, whether they be ice cream socials or barbecues or what have you, in different parts of our districts. For the third year in a row, I will be hosting a National Night Out event at Jack Davis Park, located at 44th Street and 16th Avenue in the South Oak Park Fruit Ridge Pocket neighborhood. The last 2 years have been terrific. We've had, I would say, at least 15 county departments at least that have been out there with tables and information and a lot of interaction with county residents in that part of our community to explain what they do, and so that our constituents can put a face with the service, so to speak. And so there'll again be free food for families and kids out there enjoying the evening, as well as your favorite band unsupervised performing for the neighborhood.
Very good.
That's it.
Okay, good. All right, I don't have any announcements, and thank you, Supervisor Cerna. And with that, then we will adjourn this meeting. We have a closed session, but adjourn this portion of the meeting in honor and memory of Mary Ann Frost. And again, thank her daughter-in-law for a very kind and thoughtful expression of love and memories of her. So with that, we will adjourn to closed session and not return here this afternoon.